I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of where the world is going. Hopefully, some of the stuff I'm going to say is pretty obvious. It's kind of typically, I find it to be my job to kind of crystallize and synthesize down to some key takeaways. But first, I want to talk just kind of about how we got to this point of somewhat insanity in terms of innovation, the number of startups that are proliferating, the pace of disruption that has exponentially increased, right? If you look at kind of this chart, which I like to show in a number of presentations, you know, the reality is back in the day, right, years and years and years, decades ago, innovation took a long time. And it was really, the bottleneck was computing power, computing opportunity, right? And so now, as we've entered this kind of world of big data, cloud, yada, yada, innovation is happening in a matter of months. I mean, in the time that I first put this presentation together several weeks ago, I had to go last night very quickly and make some updates because Apple made some interesting announcements, right? And so in a matter of weeks, things change. So with that, hopefully this works. This is kind of a snapshot of all just marketing technology and advertising technology startups that exist today. It's kind of mind-blowing. There's a bazillion startups, all of whom are kind of chomping at the bit to take pieces of your pie away, all of whom are chomping at the bit to make the consumer experience better, to make brand experiences better, to help sell more stuff, right? And so I'm not going to get into necessarily kind of this mess because it kind of gives me a headache, right? It really is very messy. Startups are coming into the world, they're getting funded, they're failing, they're succeeding. I don't necessarily want to spend too much time on the kind of venture world, but what I thought would make sense was to kind of distill down a few key takeaways, keep it pretty simple. My hope was that, again, all these takeaways are pretty obvious, right? But I want to show you a couple examples of some things that are happening. And I'm going to distill it down to 6 key trends, right? And again, hopefully none of this should be a surprise. The first thing is that everything's going to be connected, from inanimate objects to our own existence. Ultimately, if you look at kind of where the world has gone in terms of connected devices, it's kind of staggering, right? In the last few years alone, as we go into the next several years, the pace of new inanimate objects that are coming online, effectively joining the network, being connected to us, to our experience, to how we experience the world, it's going to grow in a factor of, I think we're at probably somewhere around 15, 20 billion connected devices now, going upwards of 50 billion over the next 5 years. That's kind of crazy if you really think about it, because we start to go, okay, well, our clothing is going to start to be connected, right? What opportunities does that create for brands to connect to consumers? And what value can we create through these connected devices, right? Shoes that tie themselves, that adjust to your own posture, that do things that will track your existence. Baby monitors, clothing-enabled baby monitors that tell you how your kid's going to sleep. I bet there's a bunch of moms in this room today that would jump at the chance to be able to know exactly what's in the mind of their child when they can't speak to you, right? So you start to think about those possibilities, and when inanimate objects can provide intrinsic data on how we exist, the value creation starts to kind of proliferate from there, right? How about a plate? How about a plate that just tells you what's on it, how much calories are in your food, what you're eating, how you're digesting? Pretty remarkable, right? You drop a piece of broccoli on one of these dishes, and it will tell you it's broccoli, and here's how much it weighs, and here's how many calories you're ingesting. How about smart tattoos, right? Tattoos that can help you control your phone. This is from a joint research development project between MIT and Microsoft. Lots of different forms and functions, and all of a sudden, instead of tapping on your Fitbit, you're going to tap on some design, right, that you're going to just kind of put on your skin. I mean, you may or may not do this. This may or may not ever come to fruition, but the fact that it exists in and of itself is pretty phenomenal in my opinion. How many people have heard of a product called Ring? Right? Smart, connected doorbell. The reason I show this one is because I love to show how the proliferation of the device started to take shape and how so many people started to get engaged with it, right? The ability to take an inanimate object, connect it to a user experience, tied to a social experience, and all of a sudden, the neighborhood watch concept becomes that much more powerful, that much more enabled. that much more valuable to a community at large. And you can start to see how when these guys launched, very small footprint in San Francisco that just started to kind of bolster up over the course of just a few short years. So the next trend that I want to talk about is personalization, right? This shouldn't, again, come as a surprise to anybody, but as we enter this kind of new world of big data, everything's going to be personalized, right? Starbucks has been using personalization for several years. Shopping is going to start to change with your own personal shopping assistant that's going to enable style predictions. It's going to enable a personalized shopping experience that didn't exist before. This is a startup called Mona. You download it, all of a sudden, through your interaction with this application, it will start to create a highly personalized shopping experience for you across a number of different vertical categories. How many here know a company called Stitch Fix? Awesome. How many people here knew that Stitch Fix delivers almost 100%, not quite 100%, fully personalized, customized experience so that each person in this room who gets a Stitch Fix delivery is getting a different customized delivery than anybody else in the room? It's pretty remarkable, right? And that's just the power of a frictionless user experience that captures relevant data about you, customizes the experience for you, and delivers value back, right? Very data-driven. Some would say low touch. However, I use this example because we use Stitch Fix, and I do, my wife does. This is an image of my wife's social media kind of Facebook page. A few months ago, my wife's father passed away, unfortunately. And she had a Stitch Fix box sitting in the living room that she just never opened. And it just sat there because we were dealing with funeral arrangements and lots of personal stuff. She gets an email a week later, just a reminder, we haven't heard from you, everything okay with your box? And she sends an email back to a customer service email address saying, hey, I'm really sorry, I'm going to put it in the mail tomorrow, my father passed away, my head's been in the clouds. Within 24 hours, a beautiful floral arrangement shows up at our apartment, delivered from a local florist 3 blocks from our apartment, right? So not only is this an organization that's taking personalization from a data perspective, but it's also bringing the human side of it to create just a beautiful experience that now we will be customers for life because of that level of interaction and deep personalization that isn't just about a robot, but is also about a human connection. Okay? Everything's going to be real time. What does that really mean? If you look at kind of the progression of how we've consumed content over, let's say, the last few decades, it was very linear, appointment-based. In order to watch Johnny Carson or Ed Sullivan, you actually had to be in front of the device at a certain time, otherwise it was gone, and the next day you were not part of the conversation. Then there was time shifting, right? Then there was this notion of, stories and engaged, kind of semi-live, I'm gonna post in real time, but people are gonna watch it later. And now, we live in a world where live is here. It's now. I just recently, as a hobby, bought a small drone. Within 3 seconds, I was able to connect that to Facebook Live, throw that thing up in the air, and I was live streaming, right? Pretty remarkable. Opens up a world of possibilities in terms of content creation, consumption, user habits, and behavior. Okay? And as we start to think about this real-time engagement of content, tools for self-expression have always been part of that equation and will continue to proliferate. If anybody saw the Apple announcement over the last few days, self-expression was a very big part of the use case of the features and benefits and shock and awe of what it is that they're trying to do. And now it's about, facial recognition and mapping and machine learning that's going to ultimately blur out backgrounds and bring your face forward and create these interesting experiences that we haven't even started to digest yet. And how about AR? When we start to overlay data on top of the whole real-time experience. Right? Also from Apple's announcement, when you're sitting at a live sporting event, right? When you're supposed to be kind of a fan in the moment, present, you're holding up a phone and all of a sudden a mess of data starts to appear that makes that experience presumably better, we hope, right? Or at the end of the day, we're all just going to kind of walk around the world looking like this, right? Until the glasses show up. But it just starts to show you that the world is changing and the way we look at the world is changing. Chat. Chat not from like a, chatbot. Chatbots have been we've been talking about chatbots for a little while now in the world of kind of customer service, things like that. But the reality is chat is really a war of messaging, right? And it started with, kind of AOL Instant Messenger and things that were more ubiquitous, and now even that's getting fragmented, right? All the way down to very specific chat applications that help solve a specific purpose in a specific time, whether it's banking, whether it's dating, right? Whether it's networking and finding business relationships or productivity. There's verticalization of chat, right? Which is pretty remarkable as you start to kind of bounce around and connect to different parts of your world and things that you care about. That starts to evolve into a place where brands can start to connect in a very different way, right? Social conversations start to evolve to business-related conversations. This is a snapshot of a couple from the hospitality industry that shows you this is not new. This is a year or two ago. Brands already started to engage through chat to solve problems, right? Twitter customer service years and years and years ago was a big friggin' deal, right? Now it's all kind of happening in your stream and your phone. But what happens when that starts to move to conversational commerce, where rather than opening the Fandango app or going to the Fandango website, you just text Fandango and you say, hey, what's playing at my theater tonight at 7? And a list of movies will come right back to you in real time. And if you choose, you buy a movie ticket. Your ticket's right in your feed. You show up to the movie, you walk in completely frictionless, just like you had a conversation with a friend, right? This is starting to happen today. Mezi is a startup making some waves in the hospitality field. It's a booking engine. Travel, hotel, rental cars. Ultimately, rather than going to Orbitz, Kayak, Expedia, and living in that kind of crowded, annoying experience of looking at all these different kind of travel options, how about you just text an assistant and say, I need a flight to LA Wednesday at 3 p.m. around. And boom, all of a sudden a connected experience starts to deliver that value to you with pricing options, booking options, and almost like you're talking to your friend, right? Kind of bringing back the travel agent in some respects. How many people here have heard of a company called Magic? Get Magic. Probably not many, right? Okay, this is probably one of my more favorite finds over the last year. Magic is an application. Again, there's no front end. You actually can't download it. You can't use it on a website. It is completely chat-based. You text Magic. It is a service layer that sits on top of other service layer. So it uses, right, Instacart, Google, Amazon, Uber, whatever other services that exist, right, that you would normally be able to use. They've created a layer that sits on top of that. So now you don't even have to you just text Magic, and they will pretty much do anything. You need a pony at a birthday party, they will figure it out for you, right? I need a bunch of bananas, some yogurt, toilet paper, paper towels, some hamburger meat, and some beer. When do you need it? I need it this afternoon. Awesome. Consider it done. I mean, right? And they charge down to the minute, right? It's not an hourly rate. So basically your usage is by the minute. And so you've got some personal virtual assistant that you've never met, talking to you, billing you, something like, I don't know, whatever it is, 18 bucks an hour, but down to the minute. So if this thing took this guy or this chat experience 5 minutes to go to Instacart and book that for you, you're gonna get billed down to the minute, right? I need to fly to Boston next Friday. I need to send my girlfriend some roses, right? I need to book a doctor's appointment. So all of a sudden, all these kind of mundane tasks, gone. And you're billed, I use this on a regular basis now, costs me probably 40, 50 bucks a month, right? Saves me a couple hours a month at least, right? If not 30 to 45 minutes a week of stupid crap that I need to do. It's pretty remarkable. How about voice? How many people in the room have an Amazon Echo, an Alexa, a Google Home, right? How many people talk to their cars? How many people dictate emails, right? If you look back, right, at the experience of how we engage with machines, it started with punch cards, to keyboards, to mice, right, to stylus, to swiping, and now it's about voice, right? I'll never forget this. I have a 9-year-old daughter. I use her as kind of a litmus test of where the world is going. I remember, I'll never forget it, when she was 2 years old, right? So 6, 7 years ago. I remember her walking up to a big screen TV on our living room wall and trying to swipe it. I don't know if anybody else has experienced that, right? Years and years ago. 2-year-old daughter walking up to a 60-inch flat screen on the wall and going, why isn't this moving, right? Now, we just got back from a vacation, a summer vacation. We were away for a couple of weeks. And our home is kind of voice-enabled, Alexa, turn on the lights, right? Alexa, turn up the thermostat. So Alexa's kind of part of the family in a lot of ways. And we come back from vacation, and the door opens to our apartment, and my daughter goes, Alexa, turn on the lights. And the lights come up, and she goes to me, she goes, I missed Alexa. I was like, fuck, Alexa is now part of the family, right? When did I adopt Alexa, and why didn't she come on vacation with us, right? Because next time, my daughter said, why don't we just bring an Echo with us where we go? Because we rented like an Airbnb or whatever, and why not? And it just, again, it's like the light bulb goes off, and I'm like, oh my God, this is the swiping of the TV all over again. This is how she experiences interacting with her world at the age of 9. So now imagine her at 19, and where will the world be then? And as you start to think about where voice, Amazon, Alexa, Google Home, et cetera, was a year or two ago, right? Apps, or skills, I should say, starting to kind of emerge on the scene, right? Connecting different types of inanimate objects, which we talked about, because everything's going to be connected. And if you look at, in 1 year's time, we've gone from about 1,000 skills, 950 skills in May, and we're well over 10,000 skills today. And if you're a brand and you are not thinking about how to engage and interact through voice, shame on you. It is the way we will engage with machines going forward, and it's not going away. So think about the magic app I talked about, right? There's no interface. There's no interface, right? It's another example of voice just through texting, right? And so I can hit the microphone and talk and say, I need some bananas by 5 o'clock. It's no different. So if you think about that from the perspective of kind of consumer behavior and how you will start to interact with the world around you and the brands that make up the world around you, it's pretty ridiculous. How about AI? AI. Probably one of the biggest, I would say, opportunities in modern day, and where the world is going and how we'll start to kind of think about experiences going forward. Almost a 60 times growth rate over the next few years in terms of the opportunity around AI, okay? And if you ask this guy, AI, the best AI will rule the world. It's pretty scary to think about it. Now, how about this guy? One of the smartest guys on the planet. AI is going to be the cause, potentially, of the next world war. Just shows you kind of the power of what machine learning, artificial intelligence will ultimately bring to this universe. What that means to brands and what that means to your day-to-day. Let's talk about that for a second. It's as simple as recommendations. It's as simple as learning behaviors. We talked about real time. We talked about personalized, right? How do you use this massive database? And how do you use the ability to learn, right? Algorithmically learn about what it is that you like and what it is that you're doing and how you're doing it to make a better world for you, right? So as simple as versatility of a jacket and which jackets are more versatile, all the way to how about websites that design themselves, right? Squarespace and Wix and all these other platforms, right, that make it easy for the individual to create websites, which we used to get paid a shit ton of money to build. Now we don't do that anymore necessarily. So how about a bot that builds the website for you when you just say, oh, I've got a design company, or I'm selling some jeans, and based on user behavior within that category and machine learning and data that has told this thing what performs best, it will optimize in real time and deliver you an experience to the consumer that drives higher conversion. AI driven. How about contracts? So boring, so annoying. There's at least 3 to 4 startups that are in our wheelhouse that are tackling this one problem, right? Contract analysis, pulling out language that says, oh, you know what? This might be a 50-page document, but these are the 6 clauses that you need to pay attention to because they commit you to doing certain things, right? And these are the things that you need to worry about. So now a small business owner doesn't need to pay $400 or $500 an hour lawyers to do some baseline work that a machine can do for them. How about writing? Right? Everybody talks about how, if you're a creative or a strategist, you're safe from AI. Maybe. And if you start to think about how you leverage it, yes, absolutely. But this is an example of an application called Hemingway, where you could upload a press release or an article or any piece of content. And what it will do is it will analyze it for you, and it will deliver back recommendations based on who your audience is. Do you want to write at a 6th grade level? Do you want to write at a 3rd grade level? Do you want to use a passive voice? Do you want to use an active voice? If you're trying to get a stronger call to action, here's the language you need to use, right? It's pretty remarkable stuff. And if you're a writer, you could be scared about this, or you could be kind of excited about it because it creates new opportunities for you to do things differently. So in a nutshell, and I got 3 minutes left. Perfect. I didn't know how this was going to go. Everything's going to be connected. Everything's going to be personalized. Everything's going to be real time. Messengers, voice control, and AI will rule the world, right? So hopefully, like I said, I didn't necessarily tell you anything you didn't know. I just showed you some examples of how it will proliferate and how it will impact our lives. And that big slide with a gazillion startups kind of starts to get distilled into a few key areas that just go, maybe I should be thinking about this. So thank you. That's my time. I'm happy to take some questions, or I'm also happy to bolt. So.